Hey wife, what are you holding there?
Anthurium Warocqueanum, also known as the Queen Anthurium.
And what do you think of this plant?
It's beautiful. It has unusual velvety leaves.
Yeah, it's a really gorgeous plant. Do you remember when I bought this plant? The leaves were only about 2 inches long.
Yeah, it's grown quite quickly.
Hey friends, this video is going to be a little bit about my Anthurium collection and how I grew them in different mediums. I love growing orchids and proteas, but during the COVID pandemic I noticed Anthurium plants on Instagram and was really taken back by their unusual beauty, so I decided to take the plunge and buy some. I ended up buying 2 queen Anthuriums right off the bat, even though they're supposed to be a little bit harder to grow. This queen was bought from Red Leaf Exotics in June 2021, and this queen was bought from NSC Tropicals in August 18th, 2021. NSC Tropicals is a pretty well-known seller of Anthuriums. Here's one of the queens soon after I received it. You can see how small this plant is. Here's some video of the same plant. As the plants grew, I moved them up to the next size container, and these are the containers I actually used. The current container they're in is a 1 gallon container. These plants are a little over a year old. The plant on the left was grown in sphagnum moss mixed with growstone, and the plant on the right was grown in your sort of standard aroid mix. To my eye, the plant on the right is slightly larger than the plant on the left. One thing that I noticed that is interesting is the plant grown in sphagnum moss has growth nodes that are much closer together than the other plant. As you can see here, these growth nodes are literally one on top of the other. While this is the plant grown in the aroid mix, the growth nodes are almost an inch apart. These plants were grown in exact same light conditions, same humidity, same water and fertilizer schedule, so I'm not sure why they're growing differently. It could be that the plant genetics are different, or it could be that the sphagnum moss causes the growth nodes to be closer together. I much prefer the other plant's growth pattern with a more compact node distance. This shows the 2 kinds of sphagnum moss that I bought on Amazon that I used, and also the growstone that I used. This growstone is similar to perlite, but a little more substantial. It doesn't fall apart as easily. I probably used a ratio of 1 part growstone to 4 parts sphagnum moss in the mixture. Here's the aroid mix that I made up. It has cocoa core, some peat moss, perlite, coconut chips, fir bark, and a little limestone added. Very fluffy, works real well. I live in Sacramento, California, which is fairly dry. I was watering these once a week, but then I upped it to twice a week, and I think I'm getting better growth with twice a week watering. Seems like it's hard to overwater these plants. If you have good drainage and the water just flows right through it, the roots really shouldn't rot. So I've been watering twice a week. This is the fertilizer I use, Repot Me. It's for RO water, and I do use reverse osmosis water to water these plants. I fertilize these plants 3 out of 4 weeks. So they get fertilized on Sundays, and then one of the 4 weeks they just get water. I think everyone who grows aroids has the goal of growing a large plant with beautiful large leaves. And I think the only way you can attain that is by having a large root system. So I've been systematically moving these plants into a larger pot as soon as I can think they can handle it. Now, if you put them in too large of a pot too soon, you have the risk of the roots rotting. This plant currently is in a 1 gallon pot, and it's definitely ready to be moved into this next pot, which is a 2 gallon pot, as you can see right here, and it's a very large pot. So I'm expecting to get some big time plant growth once I put this in there. Here's a plant that I totally love, Anthurium Luxurians. I bought this plant from Equigenera approximately a year ago. And here's what the plant looked like when I received it. It was very small, but very healthy looking plant. And here it is now a year later. Thing is just growing like mad. It's been fairly easy to grow. I just moved it up to a 2 gallon pot and hoping to get even bigger leaves. But look how beautiful this leaf looks, just gorgeous. I'm growing this plant in sphagnum moss mixed with growstone. Very easy to grow, as I said, and just a beautiful plant. Here's a close-up of the leaf. Here's one of my favorites, Anthurium Regale. This plant's about a year old, and it has just grown like a monster. My wife loves this plant, don't you?
Yes.
It's one of her favorites and one of my favorites. Extremely easy to grow, and just huge, beautiful leaves. This plant is in a 2-gallon pot, and I'm growing it in sphagnum moss. I've had such good results with sphagnum moss, I've been kind of sticking with that for most of my plants. The leaves on this plant are really stunning, just insanely beautiful. One thing I like about this plant is the growth nodes are very compact, allowing the plant to stay compact even though it has enormous leaves. Here's a close-up of the leaf. Beautiful velvet texture with this gorgeous veining. Just stunning plant. At some point I'll probably be moving this into a 5-gallon pot. I'm thinking that's when this plant's going to go really crazy. Feel this beautiful texture, just gorgeous. Here's Anthurium Crystallinum. It's also just been moved to a 2-gallon pot. This plant again is about a year old. Been very easy to grow. A very beautiful plant. Not as big as the Regale, but the leaves are definitely getting larger. You can see my hand here. This plant is also planted in sphagnum moss. In terms of pest control, I apply this systemic houseplant insect control to the plants about every 2 months. And I haven't had any pests, so the systemic houseplant insect control appears to be working pretty well, so I would highly recommend you use it as a prophylactic. Next, let's talk about my growing conditions. I grow the 2 queens in this orchidarium. It is definitely not a greenhouse and not a IKEA chamber. This thing is open to the air, so you're going to put my hand right in here. So the humidity is not very high in this. I would say it averages about 65%, but the queens have done fine in this 65% humidity. In terms of lighting, I have grow lights, LED lights on all the plants, and they're all on timers. So LED grow lights and about 65% humidity, and they're doing just great. I grow all these plants in my dining room. Here's the Anthurium Luxurians. This is where it grows, and it just grows out in the open. Again, it's under some LED lights. It's doing very well in this place. The humidity right now is about 60%, as you can see right here. They do just fine out in the open. Here is the Anthurium Regale growing in this corner of the dining room. And then here's the Crystallinum in this corner. Again, under the grow lights. Doing very well with lower humidity, around 60%. A great way to evaluate light intensity is with a PAR meter, which stands for photosynthetic active radiation. A PAR meter measures the available light that plants use in ppf units. What is important here is that this number is reproducible between different lights. So with a PAR meter, you can then experiment with light levels and see how your plants respond. I've turned on the LED lights, and we're going to go ahead and take some readings with the PAR meter to give you an idea of the light intensity I'm using to grow these plants. So we'll take a reading right here. We're at 260, 200, 175, 250, 110, 160, 300. So probably the range of readings is about 100 all the way up to about 300. That is the range of PAR they're getting. Now if I take a reading down low, it's only 75. This would be too low to grow these plants. If you don't have a PAR meter, you might want to invest in one. They're available on Amazon. and will help to give you an idea of where your PAR levels are currently and help you to decide if you need to give your plants more light or less light. As part of my plant routine, I mist the plants every morning with this electric mister I bought on Amazon. And I'll tell you, this mister makes the chore of misting so easy. I like to show you how the mister works. Every morning I come in and hit the button, effortless. And just go ahead and mist all the leaves. And then I mist the actual top of the plant here. And that's it. It's pretty effortless. I do have this Elect Homes humidifier that I run during the day, which adds some humidity to the dining room. But because the dining room is open to the rest of the house, I'm not sure how much benefit I'm getting from it. Here's the humidifier in action. Again, I have it running during the day. And I'm not sure how much it helps because again, this room is just open to the rest of my house, but it probably helps some. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on my Anthurium collection. I think the key for me has been to water these plants at least twice a week in the summer, to use reverse osmosis water, to fertilize 3 out of 4 weeks, and then to up pot them into the biggest pot they can handle as soon as possible to get the quickest root growth as possible. And that has allowed me to get these plants to grow fairly quickly over the last year. I plan to post some new videos about these plants as I grow them in larger and larger pots and see how large I can grow these plants. So subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And please give this video a big like. Thanks so much.